Everyone says they want freedom. But what if freedom doesn't exist? Not in politics, not in your job, not even in your own mind. What if the very idea of being free is the biggest scam you've ever believed? Let's talk about it. If we've supposedly never had more freedom in history, more choices, more mobility, more rights, then why do so many people still feel stuck, suffocated, or lost? What are we missing about freedom itself?
Freedom is never enough, I would say. The point of the matter is, no matter what systems you create, no matter what obligations you create, no matter how many job roles you create, you'll be bound to something or the other, right? Because we as beings, living beings, are bound by our existence itself. Think about it. I need water to stay alive. If I don't drink water for 3 days, I'll die. If I don't eat food for a while, I'll die. If I don't breathe, I'll die. Just my existence alone is itself a bounded, freedom-less existence. Hell, so therefore, we by our own nature are freedom-less. But there is a even deeper point that I have to think about. When we are trying to think of freedom, we're trying to think of ways to let go of current limitations. But the only way to do that is by imposing new limitations. To give an example of that, for example, women were not able to vote, were not able to work for a while. Then the feminism movement happened. Now they get the opportunity to vote. Now they get the opportunity to work. But because they can work, now they are bounded by the fact that now they are not free to choose not to work anymore. Because if you don't work, you're a partner who's a deadbeat. You're a partner who is not providing. You're someone who is just a dead weight. Now, something which was once freedom has now turned into a shackle.
That's a powerful take, and exactly where the contradiction kicks in. Every liberation, once normalized, quietly becomes a new expectation. So instead of freedom expanding, it just mutates. Now here's the next layer. Is freedom really the removal of limits, or is it the illusion that we chose them ourselves?
I think freedom, by a conceptual way, the way that we have defined the particular world, is the removal of limits. But the question isn't whether that is the true definition of freedom. The question is freedom even achievable? And the way that we stand right now, logically speaking, freedom is not achievable, right? We as human beings have evolved so much, right? We don't require to carry heavy ass cameras to click a moment in time anymore. But now everyone expects you to carry a phone. If you don't have a phone, you're lost. If you don't have maps, you're lost. Which were supposed to liberate you are now shackling you instead. So the point isn't whether or not freedom is a word that has a different meaning altogether. That is just us trying to change the meaning of word to fit in our current reality. Words were formed as concepts. Words don't have to adhere to what is possible, and therefore freedom, the definition, is not to be bound, and that cannot exist in our current world. Can you give me any example of one thing that gives true freedom, that is genuinely free? And I'll see if I can contradict that.
That challenge is sharp, and honestly, the contradiction might be built into the very idea of freedom itself. Even the most sacred examples, like love or art or nature, come with hidden terms. Love ties you to another. Art enslaves you to your vision. Nature, she doesn't care if you feel free. She just runs her laws. So maybe what we call freedom is just a well-decorated prison.
That could be the case, but I offer you another hypothesis, a very interesting hypothesis that goes even beyond freedom not being possible. The hypothesis is that we don't even want freedom. The biggest fear that we've all actually recognized is the fear of the unknown that human beings hold. So if there is a fear of the unknown, unknown itself, is it freedom? Is it not? If I, for example, go into space and I'm not aware of the laws of space, but somehow I'm able to survive there. I don't know there is a speed limit, which is light. I don't know there are certain other limitations and certain laws that I have to follow. To me, space looks like limitless possibility, right? Before we mapped the space out. But the point is, people will be afraid of going into a place with limitless possibility because people want those shackles. Those shackles themselves are not prisons. Those cages aren't prisons, they are homes, they're shelters. They keep you alive from whatever is out there lurking. That is the point. What is the difference between a house and a prison? The only difference is you choose to be in one, and in the other you don't get the choice. But people will still, if they are given a choice between being imprisoned or being left out into the wild in a desert, or let's say in a forest with no sort of shackles, people will pick to be in prison because at least they can survive there. The point is, the concept of freedom is antithetical to our nature as human beings. We don't even want freedom, and every single time that we're talking about freedom is not that we want true freedom, it is that we want the illusion of choice, the illusion of freedom. We crave the illusion. We want to feel like we're in control when we're not.
Exactly. That hits like a truck. Maybe that's what society is. A carefully engineered illusion of choice. A curated sandbox where the edges are just blurry enough to feel free. We design paths with just enough forks that we feel like we picked one. But the terrain, the rules, the destination, already decided, so maybe freedom isn't something we lost. Maybe it's something we've always run from.
In fact, let me just elaborate on it even more. Now, let's not talk about the average person. Let's talk about people who live on the fringes of society, people who truly seek freedom. For example, yogis. There are certain sort of yogis in Indian traditions which are said to be people who are sitting half naked on the top of mountains meditating. People who let go of their families, let go of everything, and they're out there alone in the wilderness. Some people even theorize that they are not even having food or water, although those things are just not going to happen because you need food and water to survive. Those are just mythical concepts to show how far away they are from society. Correct. Yet those people still cling to life. Yet those people still cling to their flesh. What is that? Why are they still alive if they seek true freedom? Because if I am in a body, if I am in a place, even if I am in a mountain which is hard, which is harsh, I still exist, right? I still am bound to a place. I am not completely free. How can I be free if I am tied to living? Therefore, even the people who live at the fringes of society, people who are mentally classified as insane, people who leave everything behind, even they are not seeking freedom. Their illusion of choice, their illusion of freedom is just a lot more sophisticated than the rest of us.
That's the twist, isn't it? The closer someone gets to actual freedom, raw, untethered existence, the more it reveals itself as unbearable. Even the yogi in the mountains, stripped of name and nation, still holds on to breath. Still chooses to be. Because maybe what we call freedom isn't liberation at all. It's just a more tolerable illusion. A version of reality we can stomach. Total freedom? That's chaos. And nobody, not even the most ascetic soul, wants to stare chaos in the face for too long.
Definitely. And then there is another argument that if that is the case, then the person who kills himself, that person must be free, right? Because now they're not bound to life, now they're not bound to reality. And perhaps, firstly, look at the motivation of them killing themselves. It is also informed by shackles. So they are trying to break free in a way when they try to kill themselves. But then the self stops existing. The moment you die, yourself stop existing. I am not going to consider any metaphorical and some sort of mystical illusions about a soul, about this, about that, unless and until they're proven. So what we know that truly exists in that sort, you don't necessarily become free, you just stop existing. It's like I am trying to make Mario fly in a game, and to get that sort of freedom to do whatever the fuck I want on the screen, if I just shut down that game itself, does that mean I'm free? No, the game just ended, and that is the point. Even in death, you are not free. You, by the nature of being you by the nature of existing, can never be free. So if that concept doesn't exist, why do we cling to it? The reason we cling to freedom, the reason we cling to illusion, the reason we cling to all of this is because we seek an illusion. We seek an illusion of control, of agency in a universe that offers no free will. The Big Bang happened, chemical reactions happened, everything about you is already predetermined. Even me picking up this bottle is predetermined. Why? Because I was born a certain way due to my genetics. I was born, I had gone through certain experiences due to everything else. Everything else is causal and effectual, causal and effectual. And even my brain is just a biological machine which is operating on neurons, which themselves have been informed by all of these different factors. And ultimately, me picking up this bottle again and again and again and again, all show are proof. Nothing I do is going to prove that I am free. Everything I'm going to do is going to prove that I am shackled. And we want that illusion because we recognize subconsciously that limitation. We can never be free.
So in this video, we unraveled the concept of freedom, not as a goal, but as an illusion. We explored how even our deepest attempts to escape are just new cages, how even death doesn't grant release, and how what we call freedom might just be another comforting myth we sell ourselves. Thanks for watching. Patterns are everywhere.